All right, here we go. Dream Interpretation Masterclass, Episode 3, Week 3, Applying the Universal Language of the Mind to Holy Scriptures. And then also, what we're going to be interpreting is the creation story. So, the first part of the creation story, because that really displays the structure of the mind, to help you to see one, that you can use this language for just about anything. And two, that you can use it for holy scriptures, and three, that the structure of the mind isn't something I made up, or where I learned it from they made it up. This is ancient knowledge, that's a part of almost every culture, because it's true. So, like I always say, don't believe anything that I say, don't believe anything that I put out there. If it resonates, it's true, that's great, but it's still a belief until you create an experience for yourself. So with the structure of the mind, ways that you can do that is, in the first week of the video, looking at, is intuition subconscious thing? Create, experiences for yourself to derive intuitive thoughts. How do intuitive thoughts feel different from conscious mind thoughts? And conduct your own study and research. But anyways, let's get right into it with the Dream Interpretation Masterclass. I'm so excited. All right, so a recap. Dreams are the greatest tool for self-awareness. They truly are. I'm telling you this. I've learned so much just in life in general, but metaphysically and spiritually, I've learned so many things that have completely transformed my life, and I hold so much value to all of them. But all the rest combined do not equate to the value that I have for the fact that I was able to have a chance and opportunity to learn this language. And then, even more so, be able to share it with other people to allow them to also experience, that same value and gratitude. So, I mean, it really is your greatest tool for self awareness, because, you know, you're going inside of your own mind and assessing what's going on. I mean, you're pretty much illuminating yourself. So self-awareness by definition is a dream experience. So I love it. I love it. So the more you understand about your dreams, the more you understand about yourself. That is absolutely true. Universal truth. All right, so let's pick up where we left off, going over the most common symbols. So I want to continue to go over these, so that we can, continue to learn the formula of the language. Continue to learn the foundation of the language, the structure of the language, how this language is built, how it operates. Just like you take English class almost every year of school to really better understand the English language. So, if as a reminder again, I'm sure we're all well aware of it by now. Everything in your dream is an aspect of your own consciousness. So your dreams are about you. So, like this first one, phone represents communication. It's about how you communicate with yourself. The thoughts that you're having about yourself, the emotions that you have about yourself, the way you feel about yourself, the way you think about yourself. When a phone comes up, that's what it's going to be talking about. And so when you look at, sort of backtrack about every dream being about you, the person dreaming. When you look at these symbols, you want you want to look at the form, and then look at how that form functions in life, and then how does that relate to your consciousness? How does that relate to you and your mind? So again, with the phone, that's the form. Its function, the function of the phone, is to communicate. And so how that relates to the mind is, like I said, how you communicate with yourself, the thoughts you have about yourself, the emotions you have about yourself. Now, phones that we have today are for far more than just communicating. Especially just talking. There's also texting, email, all types of forms of communication, but also entertainment devices, calculating devices, navigational devices. I mean, there's it's endless. So if you're using the phone, still with like email or text or anything like that, then it's still going to be about communication. If you're using it like kind of like a computer for any of those other things, then it's going to be about how you program, the programs within your mind, because we all have different type of programming within our own mind. The mind is by design, it's designed to be programmed. So the stronger the thoughts and beliefs that you have, the will determine what programs are operating and running. So a lot of our programming was installed as children, because that's when we're the most impressionable. Our consciousness is in a state um, by design to absorb information and experiences, in order to create these programs that are designed to operate for us throughout the rest of life. And no childhood experience is more programmable and more at the roots of all of the rest of our experiences than the birth. So, in addition to just this dream interpretation here, one thing that I would suggest for everyone who's listening now or listening on the recording do is for the over the next week, spend the first half of the week just writing down all of the conditions of your birth. The city you were born in, the state you were born in, the time period you were born in, the country you were born in, what was going on, what was the political landscape of that time, what was the economic landscape of that time, the parents you were born into, the immediate family you were born into, the lifestyle you were born into, the zodiac sign you were born with. Write down the gender you were born for, the name you were given. Just write down anything and everything that could be associated with your birth. And and then so that's what you're going to do for the first week, is just or for the first day or two. Just really try to think about it. If you have a good relationship with your parents, call them up and ask them. I did this at one time, and I called my mom and asked her, just hey, what was going on when I was born? What was going on in your life when I was born? And oh my God, it was eye opening stuff that I would have had no clue about. And some things I did know about, but it's very eye opening as well. That helped me with a lot as well. But do that, and then after you've kind of collected all of the data, then just maybe give it a rest for a day. Don't really think about it. Don't address it, and then come back to it, and come back to it from a more objective view, being more of an observer, not so like, this is me, don't be so attached to it, and just look at it from a much higher, a detached perspective. And from that perspective, think about you as a soul who has lived, hundreds of lifetimes, and you're getting ready for your next lifetime. That's just going to be one of many more. So it's not really that big of a deal, you know. And how would that soul view these circumstances, these conditions? Why would that soul choose a life with all of these conditions? I mean, this is a very powerful exercise for self-awareness and for growth and self-acceptance, self-worth. At least those were a lot of self-acceptance, self-worth were a lot of things that it did for me, and a few other people that I know of who have done it. Um, yeah, so and just think about it, write about it, journal about it. Um, you don't have to come back here or come back to me with it or anything. Just an experience to have for yourself. So I suggest that. It isn't necessarily on the topic of dreams, but it is associated with it, as that's a soul experience, and will help you deepen your own self awareness. All right, because as we are learning with our dreams, we are more than just our body. Our dreams give us indication of that, especially when you become lucid in a dream and have lucid dreams. Then you're really having a way that you're experiencing yourself beyond your body. So you're more than just a body. So, being so fully attached to the body um, is part of why our experiences seem so extreme. Um, so, so this will also help with that. All right. So we did phone being communication, and that took us down 15 minutes train of thought. All right, now hair represents thoughts. So our hair is the form and the function of hair. For a lot of us nowadays, it's more about like expressing our personality, but the core biological and spiritual and metaphysical function for hair are to be antennas, to be able to perceive other thoughts, perceive other energy, and so our own mental perception is done with our thoughts. So anytime hair shows up in your dreams, it's about it's about thoughts. Like if you're getting a haircut in the dream, it's how you are letting go of old ways of thinking and allowing more room for new thoughts to come in. If your hair is all tangled up and try to brush it out, it's like your thoughts are just all scrambled and you can't really get any organization out of them. Things like that. If it is about like you're doing your hair or doing your hair up or getting a hairstyle, then it's about how you're expressing your thoughts. So, okay, a new feature I just figured out. I guess when something comes up in the chat, it'll pop up for me. Hair has been a symbol in several of my recent dreams. Nice, nice. Okay, excellent. So when hair comes up, and Desiree, I'm sure you probably already have a good hold on the interpretation of that, as you've been doing this for a while now, interpreting other people's dreams now. So anybody watching this, you can go find Desiree and have her ask her to interpret a dream for you. It'll help her out, deepen her experience. All right, so yeah, I'm sure you understand that you can look at the context of how that's showing up to determine exactly what's going on with your thoughts, throughout the day. Are you coloring your hair? Are you dyeing it? Right, showing that you're bringing more color to your thoughts. There's more flavor to the thoughts. It's not just like bland thinking, like I need to go to store. I need to, whatever. All right. Nice. I'm glad that pops up like that. Stop checking. Okay, so zombies. Zombies are huge. So many people have zombies. I might have to start. It's like the number. It's like the sixth man. I guess the sixth man of the year award for dreams, as far as top five dreams. Zombie dreams are the sixth man of the year. I may make a video about that. Call it sixth man of the year. Okay. So zombies. What are the form of zombies? Well, they are people who have passed on that are reanimated. Now, as far as the function of zombies, I mean, they don't really exist, so they don't really have a function. But the way you could look at the function is reanimating something that's already died. So, how does that relate to your consciousness? Well, it's a person who has died and has come back to life. It's reanimated, so it has new energy, new life force energy in it that's reanimating it. Not enough to really be fully alive, but enough to kind of function. And so, people, as we've talked about, people are the different characteristics of our own personality. The universal language of mind is in all type of idioms. It's ingrained within our language. So characteristics, personality, character, person. It's ingrained in there. So how we act this way, we act that way. We're all capable of acting out different ways. We're all capable of being loving, kind, greedy. We've already talked about this a lot. So you should kind of understand this. Death is the form, and the function of death is to change from one state to another, from one form of energy transforming into another. Every ending is a beginning. Life is cyclical. It's a circle. Where does the circle end? If you're on a track, yeah, you pick a spot to start and you pick a spot to stop, but it still keeps going. You know, Life is the same way. So every day is the same way. You go to sleep, the day's over, but really the night experience begins. You start dreaming, whether you're conscious or not. As soon as the dream's over, the dream life ends and dies. And then you wake up and this begins. A new day. So how does that relate to Consciousness was about self transformation, how you are changing. So we're always changing, we're always growing, we're always becoming different, we're always evolving. So, are we consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it? Death will give us, and a dream will give us insight into that. Are we consciously doing it or unconsciously? It'll give us insight into what parts of ourselves are changing so that we can then know, okay, this part of myself is changing. I need to pay more close attention to it so I have more control over what it changes into. Just because it's changing doesn't mean, like if you have a part of yourself in a dream that represents, you know, um, sadness, and that part dies, in the dream. Well, okay, I'm transforming my sadness. Yeah, that can be a great thing, but you have to determine what is that transforming into. You have to determine what it's going to transform into. Is it going to transform into something more elevated and higher, or is it going to transform into something lower? Are you going to cause it to create an upward cycle or a downward spiral? You know, is it going to cause you to go in an upward spiral or a downward spiral? They say 666 is the number of the devil, right? Well, that's because if you draw the number 666, six, 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 you're in a downward spiral. That's it. That's all it is. That's the only reason it represents that is because it represents a downward spiral. But at any time on that downward spiral, you can just loop it back up at any time. So nothing to be afraid of. Ain't nothing scary about that number. It's just a number. Nothing scary about it. Anyways, that's what death is. Now back to zombies. Now that we understand what people are, we understand what death represents. So a part of ourselves that have died. Me, I used to be very confrontational. I've shared plenty of times, like the story that I did of where in a lucid dream, I killed that part of myself. I was very confrontational. I'm a Taurus bull, so extremely bullheaded. And so I still am in certain ways, but nowhere near like that. I've changed that part of myself. Well, I also, like I was talking about, downward spiral, upward spiral. I made sure, as soon as I woke up, I told myself, okay, I have went in, done, I call it mental surgery. I went in, I've done some mental surgery, and I've removed that tumor, that cancer. I removed that part of myself. Now I need to make sure and be on top of it 100% of the time that I am no longer confrontational. And I really did a lot of work to make sure that anytime something came up that I normally would have been confrontational, I made double sure to go the complete opposite. Where now, if I tell people stories of how I used to be, they laugh at me because I joke around all the time, so they think I'm just making up a joke, trying to be funny. But people back home where I'm from, they think I'm a fraud, a phony. Like, oh, I know the real Rob. He's nothing like that. Like the guy. But I've changed that, and I'm no longer like that. Now, if after if at some point today I end up being very confrontational like that again, I'm reanimating this part of myself that has since died, like a zombie, something that's died, and you're reanimating it. So, we've all grown. We're all, we're none of us, at least I hope, are close to who we were 10 years ago. I'm 37. When I was 27, actually, when I was 27, I was just getting into like really heavy into these things. But yeah, 15 years ago. Oh my God, it's funny to think about. But I'm nothing like that, So I'm not that person that's dead and gone. But if I start acting in those ways again, then I'll probably go to sleep and have a dream. Oh, zombie apocalypse. That's when you're like fully acting like you used to, like in all type of ways. Not just one zombie coming in the room, chasing you, trying to get to you. It's like, you're really just going backwards and getting into old habits and old ways of thinking and living and things. So that's what a zombie is. Next, money. Money is the form and the function of money is to place and exchange value on things. Before money, we just bartered. Hey, I'll give you two coats for three shoes. I don't know what you do with three shoes. Now we have money. This is, you go to a store. How much is that TV? $300. Okay, I see the value in that. I'll take it. Oh, how much is this TV? $4,000. I don't really see the value in that. I mean, unless it's like $4,000 TV. But anyways, it helps us to determine the value. So how does that relate to the consciousness, to the self? It's self value, self worth. So anything to do with money in a dream is going to be all about self value, self worth. Did you just get a check? And look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. We'll go over numbers next week. Look at the numbers on there. That'll really help you to determine what is increasing this value. You know, um, did you just hit the lottery? That's going to represent, like a flood of massive self awareness has just, entered your consciousness. So, those times when you're like, it's just like an epiphany just comes through, like, oh wow, you know what? I do have way more value than I'm giving myself credit for. You might go to sleep that night and dream of hitting the lottery, and because that's what it's gonna feel like. It's gonna feel like you just hit the lottery. Like, wow, how have I not seen this whole time? So, um, next one, or another thing with the way money comes up sometimes is being stolen from. Having money stolen from you. So ways you are, taking away from your value if that shows up. If you're getting robbed, or really just anything, not even just money. If you're getting robbed in some sort of way, remember everything in the dream is an aspect of your unconscious. So you are robbing yourself. You're taking away from yourself. If you're being kidnapped, you are kidnapping yourself. You are holding yourself back. If you're being stabbed, you are transforming yourself. But if someone else is stabbing you, you feel that things outside of yourself are are changing you, but really it's just influencing for you to unconsciously choose to change and transform in ways you don't want to. But if you're taken away from yourself, wait, taken away, you're robbing yourself. You're being robbed in the dreams, but you're taking away from yourself. So time is a big one. Shows up in dreams a lot more than people realize. Um, just because it's not like an actual symbol. It's more of like the other things that indicate the symbol. I mean, sometimes there is clocks and stuff, but like birthdays, if there's a birthday in a dream, that's a celebration of one full cycle around the sun. You've elevated to a higher form. And that's what time's going to represent. It's not linear. Time is to indicate the passing of time in order to indicate growth. Um, you know, the day is 5 hours in, not necessarily because it's passed for 5 hours, but it's grown 5 hours. You've grown for I've grown for 37 years. And so how does that relate to the consciousness is how your consciousness grows, the elevation of your consciousness. So time, you know, for us, we always, in school we did timelines. You know what I mean? Here at the age of one, I was like this. My family was doing this. At the age of two, at the age of three, now I'm 8 and I'm in school doing this project. We do timelines. In consciousness, or like this. You know what I mean? Like here, it's here I was 10, here I was 20, here I was 30. You know, but here we have the elevation of consciousness. You're on level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6. So you're growing and learning, and as you're growing and learning, but sometimes we're like teenagers and we just don't really grow anymore. Somebody can end up being 50 years old over here, still have the mindset of a teenager. Other times, like we're growing and growing and growing, and then boom, something happens, and we start transforming, and just within a matter of 1 year, you go up 6 different levels. Now you're, just 1 year ago you were right here. Just 1 year later, you're way up here. Because of things that you've gone through, things that you understand, and things like that. I hope that makes sense. Weird drawings here. Pretty sure. So time in a dream is all about how much you are progressing. All right. So, in a birthday, in a dream, you've completed one full cycle. You went from one jump to the next, from one level to the next. Because life is all about lessons, and when we learn lessons in something, like I talked about in last week's video, we learn these lessons, and when we graduate, we still come back to a similar lesson, but it's just on a more elevated form. Like, for example, if someone's in like an abusive relationship where they're getting beat and things, and finally eventually they find a way to finally leave, to save their life, then they're have learned a lesson on self-love. You know what I mean? And so the outer experience stimulated them to like force push them into learning about themselves. So they learn about self-love, they actually learn the lesson this time, and they find a new relationship, and this person is amazing. And so this person is always encouraging them, uplifting them, and doing everything that they would possibly want. A completely opposite person from the previous person because they learned the lesson. So they're creating a new experience. Well, it'll still come around to self love. They'll still come back around to that same lesson. So you're just, it's like digging a hole. You've dug deep on this understanding. Now you have an opportunity to dig even deeper. So now it's on a higher level. So now instead of learning the lesson of self love by being pushed into it, they're being pulled into it. This person stimulates them to want to go deeper, to want to become better, to want to connect to themselves more. So it's the same lesson, but it's just deeper understanding. Just like like I said last week, math. You start with pre-algebra, then you move on to algebra one. You move on to geometry, move on to trigonometry. It's all still math. It's all still numbers and equations. So life's the same way. So those are two examples I use all the time. Um, Next one, clothes. Clothes are the form and the function of clothes for us now are expression. Said, with the ways we express our personality. You got like in high school is probably the easiest way to remember how that comes about. You have got the kids all dressed a certain way, the jocks all dressed a certain way, the nerds all dressed a certain way. So kids, you can really see it a lot clearly. You still can today, but it's different. Anyone who's already passed high school knows what I'm talking about. But it represents expression. So how does that relate to the consciousness? Expression of your thoughts, expression of your emotions. So, are your clothes all over the floor? Are you just like all over the place with how you're expressing your thoughts and emotions? Are they dirty? Do they need to be cleaned? Are you washing them? Are you washing the way you express your thoughts and emotions? Meaning, you're cleaning things up. It used to be dirty. You used to just lash out at people, but now you're getting better at that. So you're washing your clothes. Are you folding the clothes in the dream? Or are you missing clothes? Are you going out buying? Meaning you're placing more value on how you're expressing your thoughts and emotions. So that's how you kind of interpret a dream is you look at, like I said earlier, you look at the context. So hair showed up in Desiree's dream, but what else was in there? So like if you were, like I said, if you were buying clothes, well, we have money, we have a store because you're buying them from the store. Store is a place. So places are states of mind, the state of mind of how you are applying your value, state of mind of determining what you value. So in determining what I'm valuing, I decided that I really do value how I express my thoughts and emotions. And so I need to give more attention to that. I need to continue to grow and evolve and come up with new ways to express my thoughts and emotions. So I'm buying new clothes. So next one, police, army. They rep- that is the form and the function of the police and army is to protect and serve and defend. But the number one thing that separates them from other people, because we all, any of us can protect and serve and defend our community. But in order to become a policeman, you have to go to the academy. As soon as you go into the army or military of any kind, very first thing they do send you to boot camp. Where does what happens in boot camp? You become disciplined. You learn how to work as a unit, as a disciplined unit. Now, yeah, of course, we all have there's bad apples and things, and But in the grand scheme of things, if you go to any one department, yeah, you might have, even up to 10 to 20% of them that are corrupt on the high end. That's still the vast majority of them are disciplined. I mean, and yeah, maybe you have some precincts for all of them, but even still, out of all of the police and army in the world, uh, the vast majority of them are very disciplined. So, apart, apart from they may be being told what to do or what some of them may be doing on their own. So, how does that relate to the consciousness, your own self discipline? So, a lot of times, I mean, it almost never fails. My mentees, when they first start working with dreams or working with universal laws and manifestation, when they're paying attention to their dreams, within a few weeks to a month or 2 months, police start showing up in the dreams. Because one of the things, like I give practical, like I provide practical metaphysics, ways that you can practice applying these concepts. I'm not just, it's not philosophy. We're not just out here just talking about it. This is a great idea. What do you think? Let's conceptualize. No, we're like, oh, okay, let's put it to practice. Let's put the pedal to the metal. Let's get on our grind and really see what's really going on here. I don't want to waste any time if it's some bullshit. I'm gonna let that go and pass it up. I'm gonna be thorough in my research to make sure before I miss out on the opportunity to grow. But find out for myself. Also, I encourage mentees to do the same way, same thing. And very often, 89% of the time, one of the first things that's needed is more concentration because that affords so much in your life. You can listen better, you can control your thoughts better, you can which are going to result in what you experience in your waking reality. You can direct your mind better, you can experience your emotions better, you can achieve your goals so much faster. I mean, just everything. Attention is your greatest commodity. If anyone wants to impart something upon you, sell you something, tell you something, anything at all, they first have to have your attention. Otherwise, you won't receive it. We all can think of a time where someone was talking to us or calling for us, and we had no clue what was going on because our attention was either daydreaming or somewhere else, or watching TV or on a phone or something, and we had no clue what was going on. So that person did not have our attention at the time. you know I know plenty of times when I was a kid, mom be calling my name, but I'm just consumed with whatever I'm doing. I have no clue. So attention is very, very valuable, and who's in control of your attention is even more valuable. Because if it's not you, it's someone or something else who's in control of your attention. So gaining control of your attention is very powerful. And whenever somebody doesn't have any type of level of control or only a small level of control, I always highly encourage them to concentrate more. And that is usually when the police start showing up, is when they start doing concentration exercises. That you really have to be disciplined for. Writing down dreams and stuff, you know, isn't doesn't take as much discipline to do. Just mainly because it's so much more fun, because it's engaging. Concentration, it's like, let me just sit here and look at this. And anything else that could possibly be entertaining, actually I'm finding out is a distraction. So I need to remove my attention from this and place it on this boring old flame. Place it on this boring old drop of water. So it does take a lot of discipline, and that's when the police start showing up. Start Police start rounding people up in your dream. You know, so that takes me to back to what we talked about last week, prison. So anyways, that's what police will represent. Now, a bed is the form. The function of a bed is to rejuvenate and revitalize the body, to go to sleep. Well, the function of sleep is to rejuvenate and revitalize. Now, sleep does, we do go through the activity of sleep and wake up more rejuvenated, re-energized, but sleep does not necessarily facilitate rejuvenation and revitalization. I'm sure plenty of us can remember times where we've gotten 8, 10 hours of sleep, still woke up tired. Why is that? Well, that's because sleep is not necessarily the sole determination of rejuvenation and revitalization, energy, gaining more energy. The real thing that provides more energy and recycles the energy back into ourselves is learning from our life experiences, assimilation. So that's what a bed will represent is assimilation, assimilating what happened, you know, processing what has occurred in your life and determining what you can learn from it and then applying that lesson that you've learned back into your life. That's assimilation. So that's what dreams are. That's why we dream when we're asleep. More the more you pay attention to your dreams and things, the more rejuvenated you're going to become. So the more, and even not even just dreams, you don't even have to do with dreams. The more you're just working at looking at your life, breaking it down, your experiences, and identifying what you have to learn, through the experiences, you've sent out the energy, you've expelled that energy. Now you return and recycle that energy by bringing it back to the self. The conscious mind. What did we talk about in week one? Let me pull that back up. The duty of the conscious mind is to create life experiences in order to learn from them. So the duty is it's aggressive. It's expelling the energy through our life experiences. We're giving out energy in order to have these life experiences. The receptive, how do we then receive the energy back? How do we recycle it? We feed those experiences and understandings to the subconscious mind. You those understandings and things are the food that pulls into our body. I mean, so in life, what else re-energizes us and gives us energy? Food. Food. We eat food to have energy to do the things that we need to do. So our metaphysically, our consciousness is the same way. So, like I said, the whole process of eating food in a dream. Actually, did we break that down? I don't know. If we did, if we didn't, I'm going to right now. And if we did, then this will be good because you'll get to ingrain it deeper into your consciousness. So, food in a dream, our teeth break down our food. Physically, our teeth break down our food so that we can digest so that we can digest the food. We can bet it'll be easier to swallow. And so, if you take a steak and you just try to swallow it, you got to chew on that. You chew on it for a minute so it's easier to swallow. Then once we swallow it, then it gets into the digestive system. We can digest what we have taken in. And through the digestive system, our body will first extract the parts of the food that it can use, the parts that it can make a permanent part of the body, the lungs, the tissue, the organs, the bones. And then the digestive system moves it further and lets go of the waste, the parts that aren't needed, the parts that are unnecessary, the parts that if we continue to hold them inside of our body, they will become toxic because we will become septic. If you continue to hold on to it and you do not let it go, you'll become sick. If you continue to hold on to it even longer, you may even die. So that's what food is in our physical body. I don't think I've really said anything about food so far that's new to anyone. And so then how does that relate to the consciousness? Well, the function, how it relates to the consciousness is this process here, the duty and the purpose of the conscious mind. To take those life experiences, to break them down. We're feeding them to the soul. So we break down the life experiences so that it's easier to swallow what's happened. It's easier to digest what has occurred. So when we do that, then it is when we really break them down and accept what has happened. Okay, this has happened. This is what occurred. This is what was said. This is what was done. This is what was felt. Okay, what can I do with that? It's easier to look at and identify what we can learn. Now that it's broken down, the digestive system can pick out the parts that it can use. Okay, I can use this part. Okay, I can use this part. Okay, from this experience, I can learn this. I can learn that. Okay, I can learn this. And so once you do that, those understandings become a permanent part of the self. Right here, I'm loving this. Become a permanent part of the self. Just like the nutrients become a permanent part of your body. This becomes a permanent part of yourself. Those understandings, like I get people all the time. I was one. I just came into this life understanding dreams. When I was a kid, I knew exactly how to just escape and dream if I didn't want to dream it. I knew exactly how to, when I woke up, a lot of people tell me all the time about how, you know, oh man, I had a dream this morning. I didn't want to get up. I just want to go back to the dream so bad. It sucks. And I would just always feel for them like, man, what you mean you don't just go back into that dream like next night? What? Not everybody does this. I just understood because I had those understandings. I did the work in past lifetimes, so I have these understandings. But that's me. I have other understandings too. But I'm sure you can identify ways in which you were just always uniquely different and things that you understood that other people don't necessarily think in the same way. They don't necessarily operate naturally the same way. So that's because you have made in the past life, you have learned those lessons, you built those understandings, and you made them a permanent part of yourself. So you have them available in the next lifetime. The conscious mind here is new every lifetime. Once you die, this dies, and all the rest of this remains the same and forms a new conscious mind. Now you have a new, fresh conscious mind ready to be imprinted and programmed with new programming. But all this is the same. You still have that same storehouse of wisdom. So every lifetime, you're just feeding more and more understandings. Next lifetime, feeding more and more understandings into the self. You're just amassing this large stockpile of just wisdom that is just getting bigger and bigger, growing more and more. So you just have more and more wisdom to access. So it's just all about connecting with the subconscious mind in order to become more intuitive and more um, clairvoyant, clairaudient, and really bring more connected with yourself and bring more of those understandings to the forefront of your conscious mind. Right. And so back to the process. Once we learn the lessons and we feed those understandings back into ourselves, well, all the way to get back all the way to bed and assimilation. When we feed those understandings to our soul and store them into the subconscious mind, that is when we are recycling the energy back into ourselves. That is when we are rejuvenating and revitalizing because that energy that we have expelled is coming back into us. We are revitalizing, we are rejuvenating, you know. So the energy we expelled through the experiences comes back into ourselves through that process. And once we do that, then oftentimes it's through gratitude, but other ways too, we're able to let go of the parts that are unproductive. The actual experience itself. You know what I mean? Like if something happened and I lose my legs, I become paraplegic, that's gonna suck. But if through that it causes me to understand just how strong I am, just how much I can overcome, just how powerful I can make other parts of myself, my mind. Oh my God, all these other things that I can learn through that experience. I mean, yeah, being fully able bodied right now, hell no, I don't want to experience that. But even just laying it out that way, I can see how there would be value in that experience. Universal law of sacrifice. I probably won't be able to experience those things because I won't be stimulated to do to put in as much effort as I would if I was paraplegic. So I'm sacrificing being able to go to that level of depth through that experience would afford, but I'm able to be fully able bodied. So I'd rather take that sacrifice, personally. But who knows? As a soul, I may choose that and just come in the next lifetime crippled, and then I can do that. But what I'm saying is, when you actually learn those lessons and things, then you can become more grateful for the fact that you have that because you went through that. And so it's a lot easier, So if that was me, 4 years down the road, I'm completely transformed into a totally different person that I wouldn't have been able to become if I didn't, have whatever accident caused me to be paraplegic. So then I can just let go of the fact that I don't no longer need to hold on to that, regret that, and be disgruntled about it, and things like that. I can let it go. It's a lot easier to let it go once you learn those lessons. Because just like with going to the bathroom, if you don't let it go, if you don't let it go, it's going to become toxic, become toxifying to your body. It's going to become toxifying to your mind, your thoughts and emotions, and so much so that you become sick, or even further, if you still don't let it go until you die consciously. So transform, but likely you probably aren't transforming into a higher something higher, but something that downward spiral. You're going down downward spiral. You hold on that toxic thing. Now we can better understand how the bed represents assimilation. Because if that whole learning from our life experiences process is how we rejuvenate and revitalize, then we can even further understand the value of our dreams, because that's what our dreams are doing for us. Our dreams, when we understand this language, are giving us a way to identify how we've been using our mind the previous day or two. We can become more self aware of what lessons can be learned, how to overcome the obstacles within our life experiences, how we can grow and learn those lessons. It's like laid out in plain sight within our dreams for us. So when we go to sleep at night and dream, it's not just the sleeping, it's the dreaming, working with your dreams that makes sleep so valuable to your revitalization. And so that's why a bed in a dream will represent assimilation. And if you're someone who's working with your dreams, then anytime a bed comes up in your dream, like 70 to 90% of the time, it's going to be talking specifically about dream work. So next symbol, a ghost. What is a ghost? A ghost is a non-physical being that is kind of being able to be perceived in the third dimension. You can kind of see it a little bit physically, but not really. So our fourth dimensional body, like we talked about before, our fourth dimensional body is so really our fourth dimensional body is our soul, which is made up of the astral body, the emotional body, and the mental body. That makes up the soul. But for most of us, as far as terms and verbiage and things, astral body is what we say. A ghost will represent your unawareness of your astral body, but you kind of are perceiving it a little bit. So in a way, it's also represents awareness of your astral body, but not full awareness, only a little awareness, mostly unawareness. Because you can only see the ghost a little. When it's a ghost, you can only see it a little bit, maybe for a flash of a second out of the corner of your eye. You know what I mean? And so you aren't full. You're less aware of it than you are aware of it. What was that? I mean, you're not aware of what it even was. So I'm saying all of that to give you more idea of just how much awareness of the astral body that will represent. Just enough to, I kind of felt myself floating away for a second. What's going on? What was that? I have a little bit of awareness of my astral body. I'm on a roller coaster, boom, hit the dip, but whoo, what I mean? That little feeling on your belly means your physical body was pulled down, but your soul was a little delayed. It was pulled behind just a little bit less, or a little bit behind. It lagged a little bit. A little bit of awareness of, what was that feeling? That was your astral body. You weren't really fully aware of it. You didn't just have an be out of body experience and watch yourself hit the next three loops. It was just a little awareness. So whenever a ghost shows up in a dream, what's going on in the dream? What the context of that, whatever was going on in the dream, is going to help you to identify, what was going on in your life that is providing you a little bit more awareness, or causing you to be more unaware of your own astral body, your own soul. So when like for example, one of the most prominent dreams for me that a ghost showed up was a long time ago. It's, now I have a lot of awareness, but it was on a stairwell. There was like a door, and opened the door to these higher steps, to these steps going up, and there was a ghost that went through the walls in the middle of the steps, halfway up. So let's break that down. Door. Doors, the function of doors is to give you access into another room. What are rooms? They're places. What are places? States of mind. Being able to access one, a door provides you with access from one state of mind to another. Doorways. So, like we have these different, there's three divisions: superconscious, subconscious, conscious, and there's seven levels: physical, emotional, lower astral, upper astral, mental, causal, superconscious, or cosmic consciousness. It's actually in reverse order: one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So that's another thing. I should have numbered these. So if you ever hear me talking about the fourth level of mind, that's talking about the upper astral. The third level of mind, the mental. The sixth level of mind, emotional. Seventh level of mind, physical. In order to access these different levels, because they're almost like planes of existence, so doors will allow you access into different levels of mind. So, or different states of mind. Now, in most dreams, they will provide you with. They'll be more talking about moving and shifting from a state of mind of sadness to a state of mind of joy, state of mind of when you're at work and you go home and relax. Are you able to walk through that door of being in a state of mind of being productive to being in a relaxed state of mind? Are you able to walk through that door? So that's more what doors are going to show up in your dream. But for this dream specifically, which is why I brought all this up, because on the other side of that door were stairs. And stairs, or the function of stairs, are to go up and down different levels. Well, how does that relate to consciousness? I mean, I just laid it out. There's different levels. Access to being able to go up and down different levels. So for in that dream, I was on the bottom floor, on the first floor. First floor, what are we talking about? In a house. First floor represents conscious mind. Second floor represents subconscious mind. Third floor represents superconscious mind. And also to give you insight, around the time of doing this dream is when I very first started, lucid dreaming. Like I started getting I was getting deeper with my dreams. I started to become a little like it was like hints of lucidity where like I would start to question things in the dream, and then I would just let it go and move on. Whereas if I would have continued to question it, I would have become lucid. Like one more question, and I would have become lucid. 10 more seconds on that same question, I would have become lucid. So around that time, before I actually started becoming lucid all the time, is when I had this dream. And so, I opened up the door. I was on the first floor here, opened up the door, the only door to, and there's stairs to a higher level. The only higher level is going within, emotional level, but you're going into the subconscious mind. So, and when I see a ghost, so starting to become a little bit more aware that I'm more than just my physical body. You know, not too much. I haven't experienced it yet, but just a little bit. Ghost represents unawareness of the astral body. I need to speed things along. It's already been an hour. I'm still on the third slide. Okay, so bus and plane. So, like we're talking about vehicles or the body, well, buses and planes are larger vehicles that take lots of people to a common destination. So, an organization in your life, like a job or a church or a social group or something, it takes lots of people. It's a body that takes lots of people to a common goal. So, buses and planes represent organization. Beach is where water and land meet. So a beach, where does, the physical is represented by water, life experiences within the conscious mind, and subconscious mind represents earth, the fertile substance ready to manifest your thoughts. So where do those two meet? They meet right here, emotional level. Water and land meet right here. So your dream, the beach, will represent emotional level. Anything going on with the beach will give you more insight into your emotions, speaking on your emotions, something going on within your emotions. Now, picture, TV, movie, that's the form. Its function is to communicate through images. Well, we communicate to our subconscious mind what we want to um, manifest through the images that we create within our mind. Now, a picture or a TV or a movie is a constructed form of images for a purpose. So it's the way we are consciously creating images to communicate to the subconscious mind, which is visualization. When you're daydreaming, you're just, whatever my imagination, it just goes on its own. That's daydreaming. You know, you're in no control of where your imagination is going. Visualization is where you are consciously choosing what images. You're constructing those images in as much detail as you can to communicate a specific thought to the subconscious mind on what you want it to manifest. We're on to slide number 4. Congratulations, everyone. You've made it. All right. So, sex. We kind of already talked about sex. I just put it in there because we were going to talk about the kind of, you can see kind of a progression here. People, sex, creating a new idea. People are um, aspects of yourself, different characteristics. You want to create a new characteristic of your own personality. You want to create a new aspect. You first have to, create it, have sex. Then you have to impregnate, so impregnate your mind with the idea of that. And really stew on it. Think about it. How's it really image it? How's that going to play out? What's that going to look like? What's that going to do for you? Pregnancy. You know, um, letting it grow within. And then once you start displaying signs of that new aspect actually coming out, you're actually acting like that. That's going to be a baby. It's new. It's very new. If I'm unproductive and I want to become more productive, I got to really foster that. I got to coddle it. I got to nurture it because any slip up and it's right back to square one. It's going to die. Once it starts to get some legs underneath itself, it doesn't need so much of my attention like a baby, a child. Child doesn't need, child still needs your attention, still needs your direction, still needs you to teach it lots of things, but it doesn't need your constant everyday, 24/7 monitoring and providing. You don't have to hand feed it and teach it how to chew. You can just hand it a plate and it can eat for itself. So it's kind of got some legs. Keep your attention on it, keep growing, keep building it. You don't have to, be on top of making sure that it's developing. And then, like a teenager is going to be a more developed aspect of yourself. An adult fully, you are this way now. Now, we kind of touched on it before, but subconscious is receptive, conscious is aggressive. So a male in your dream will represent an aspect within the conscious mind. A female in the dream will represent an aspect within the subconscious mind. All right, parents, teachers, bosses, and pastors, they represent the superconscious mind. The superconscious mind does not have aspects, it just has different qualities, an aggressive and receptive quality, because it's whole amongst itself. These two are two halves to a whole. That's what this line delineates. That this is whole on its own, and that these are two halves. So this has its own halves. The universal law of duality. It has an aggressive and a receptive also. So if you're dreaming of a male parent or teacher or boss or pastor, then it will represent that male we already talked about, will represent the duty. The duty is the male, the purpose is the female. It will represent that duty of the superconscious mind, which is to provide life force energy to the rest of the self, the soul, and the body. When you feel invigorated or inspired, you know, inspiration. Spire, the root word of that, comes from the word spirare, or spirit, comes from the word spirare, which means breath. So when you feel inspired, it's coming from your spirit, your superconscious mind. Is the mind that the spirit uses. That inspiration coming all the way down through the breath to give you energy to fulfill your blueprint. That's why you feel inspired. Anytime you feel inspired, be very mindful of when you are feeling inspired, because that is a clue that you are following the blueprint for yourself. You are aligned with your superconscious mind when that's happening. It's a great thing. You're feeling inspired. So, whenever a female boss, parent, teacher, pastor, right, any symbolizing some sort of authority over you shows up, a female version, then it's talking about the blueprint. If you're driving the car, or if you're in a car but your grandma's driving, it's probably about as best as you can get outside of you driving. You know, you're allowing the blueprint of your soul and physical life to determine the direction you go in. It's great. Now, as far as the difference between why a parent or a teacher or a boss or a pastor will show up. If it's a parent showing up, then like I said, they aren't different aspects. It's just how you're perceiving the superconscious mind. Are you perceiving it? Are you perceiving your spirit as being nurturing? Are you perceiving your spirit as teaching you something? Are you perceiving your relationship with your spirit as bossing you, telling you what to do? Are you perceiving your spirit as more giving you spiritual insight, providing you with deeper spiritual experiences, creating a deeper spiritual connection? That's that's why it's going to show up differently. So pay attention whether it's a parent or a teacher or a boss or a pastor. These are things that are like going deeper with it. Whenever you're interpreting a dream for someone else and they're new to dreams, you don't want to get into this right away. Not at all. You just want to. You might not even want to. Unless they really understand superconscious mind, you might even want to tell them superconscious mind. You might just want to say, maybe just say their spirit. Or maybe just say, if they're like that. My grandma was driving the car. I told you all of that, but you just might want to say, oh, okay. So your grandma, she's two generations up. She's going to represent your spirit, which is guiding you, directing you. Don't really start talking about blueprints, all of that, but for yourself, go deeper with that. Or if you do, then you can say, go a little deeper. Once you see that they grasp that and understand that, you can go a little deeper and start to say, and you also feel like your spirit is more nurturing you along this process as it guides you. Or if it's, oh yeah, my female boss, okay, you kind of feel along as you're going on this journey, you are being guided by your spirit, being directed, but you feel like it's being told what to do. It's harder, it's kind of more, you feel like it's more like assignments you got to get completed versus something else. Anyways, music. Purpose of music is for rhythm. For like music puts everyone in sync. When you're dancing, people are in sync. If they're out of sync, that ain't dancing. That's just movement, chaos. But in dance, it's all about flow and being in sync, being in a rhythm. And the music is what keeps people in that rhythm. So how does that relate to the self? Inner harmony. You're just you're moving as one. You're not fighting with yourself. The opposite. It's harmony. So, and then also we talk about light is awareness, darkness is unawareness. If you can't see something, then you're less aware of it. If you can see it, then you're more aware. All right. So this here, we're gonna I've added. So most of the time we've just seen this with superconscious, subconscious, and conscious. So, like I said, the mind is a tool. We are not our mind. We are not the physical body. We are not the soul. We are not the spirit. The I am, where our consciousness, the I am, which is beyond the mind and beyond these bodies, is our real self, our true self. You can even write that in. Here, I'll write that in. Boom. I am the real self. And our real self is just a light, a ray, an individual ray of light of the creator. I put light here to represent the light of the most high. Because out of all of this is the most high, the essence of the most high. And we are an individual ray of that light. One way I always like to think about it to help, because this is this is third dimension, this is fourth dimension, this is fifth dimension, this is beyond that. So, don't worry if you aren't able to really conceive what is being talked about here. The one thing that helps me to conceive it more, which through this perspective allows me to understand it in deeper ways, the more that I think about it and the more that I apply this perspective to different experiences that I have, and it further deepens my understanding of it. It's like your think about your pinky. Out here on the physical, you have your pinky. Your nail on your pinky. And then you have your hand. And then you have your arm and your torso. But all of that is just my whole or the pinky, nail, the finger, the hand, and the arm. Is all just one extension out of my entire being. I have another arm, another two legs. I have hairs. I have all types of other parts. Out here in the physical, I'm just a pinky nail. What does my pinky nail really know about all the rest of the body, the organs, all everything else? The non-physical parts of my body. So don't worry if you can't really conceptualize all of this, but just understand that and like I said, if you aren't able to, unless you've had an experience on any of this that we've gone over, then don't just hold it as a belief, a possibility. Just understand you just something you're either believing or not believing until you've actually had an experience of these things. You know, early on in meditation, I had an experience of myself beyond this physical body, of myself beyond this soul, and beyond my spirit as my true self. So I know this to be true. And then like I said, here in a second, we'll also describe annotation of these things. All right. So let's get into that. The creation story, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 3, like the very beginning, at least in this version of the Bible. um, God created the heavens and the earth in the very beginning, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Okay, so one thing, real quick, I'll get into this middle part right here. In the Bible, whenever it is talking about God, it's talking about the light right here. This full awareness, infinite intelligence, infinite being. Anytime you see the word the Lord, which isn't in any of these verses we'll go over, but in the Bible, anytime it's talking about the Lord, it's talking about your real self, your true self. I am. So, and that's literally in the Bible. I am that I am. I mean, this stuff is legit. And it's called I am for a reason. Why do you think we say I am Tarak? I am feeling great. I am giving this talk. So I just wanted to point that out. That anytime you see those two, that's what it's speaking on in the Bible. In case you want to go interpret different verses for yourself, which I would encourage. Absolutely. Please do. Feel free to share it with the rest of us. All right. Created the heavens. The heavens, superconscious mind. So we know water. We already know water is conscious. Earth is the fertile subconscious mind. Now heavens, the sky, superconscious mind. God created the heavens and the earth. So, like I said, this is whole and this is whole. Because right now the earth isn't really the way we've been talking about it. Because this isn't here yet. Only only what I've wrote. Nothing. Okay, actually, I should have left this space blank and just drew it out. I didn't know I was gonna be able to draw it out. But so far, God, okay, this created the heavens and the earth. Okay, heavens and the earth. I mean, this is at the very beginning. Nothing has been experienced yet. Nothing has been experienced yet. So there's nothing there. This line isn't here. Nothing has been experienced yet. This is the beginning. There is no experience. Beginning. So, gosh, heavens and the earth have been created, right? In the very beginning. So, beginning, nothing's been formed yet. Nothing's been experienced. And the earth was without form. Yeah, nothing's been formed. It was without form and void, emptiness, completely empty. Void, not a void is just there isn't even any kind of wall. There isn't even any limit to really experience, just empty void and darkness, unawareness, because at the very beginning of creation, we are unaware of ourselves. The whole purpose of having a spirit and using the vehicle of the spirit, using the vehicle of the soul, and using the vehicle of the physical body. The only reason to use the tool of the mind, the superconscious, subconscious, and conscious, the only reason is to experience have experiences so that we can become more aware of ourselves, more aware of who we are, more aware of who we truly are. Who we truly are is our identity. I am. I am is our I am Tarak. I am giving this talk. I am enjoying my life experiences. You know what I mean? That's your identity. I am. So the whole purpose of all of this is to identify your I am. Who are you? I mean, truly, beyond your body, beyond your soul, beyond your spirit. Who are you? I am. But at this time, it was unawareness. Was upon the face of the deep. What's the face? We talked about this, I believe. If not, we haven't. I'm starting to. We're getting so far along. 3 weeks in now. I'm getting confused on what I've talked about in here and what I've made a video on TikTok for. But anyways, face represent. Face is the form. What is the function? The function of the face is to be able to identify the person. If everybody had no faces, it'd be so much harder to identify people. Well, I think we did because like I think something I remember saying, that's why your face is on your driver's license. You identify it. So how does that apply to consciousness? Identifying the conscious, identifying the self, so your self identity. So darkness was upon the face of the deep, meaning as deep as you go, you have no awareness of who you are, of who what your identity is. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. The Spirit of God. The word spirit comes from the word spirare, which means breath. So the breath of God moved upon the face of the water. All of this is the water right now. Yeah. So this line right here, that's the spirit. But this is, like this is the breath through the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind. So it's all of breath. As much breath as you can think of. So what's that mean? The whole breath, the whole spirit, the Holy Spirit. This line right here is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, your whole breath. Like I said before, the breath ties the soul to the body. It ties us together. Your breath is what's going to help you to align your conscious and subconscious minds. And then once those are aligned as a whole, you can then attune them to the superconscious mind. That's what's going to unify all of this and provide you access from out here in the conscious mind, the physical body, to your I am and have that experience. Experience yourself, your true self. But right now, none of that's formed. The only things that have formed are the things that are drawn on here. So we have waters and the breath across the face of the waters. Water is life experience. This is where we experience life as we go out into these different vehicles within the superconscious, subconscious, conscious. But none of that's there yet. We only have the triangle. We only have the triangle and a line going down through it. That's the breath of God, the spirit, the spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So He invoked it. He got. I keep saying He now. I'm getting like reading the Bible. I'm getting back into like Christian programming. But if you if you actually go to the Bible, when it gets to the verse, I think in chapter 2 of creating Adam, man, or maybe it's at the very end. No, yeah, it's at the end of chapter 1. He'll say, let us make man in our image." So it's not you know a he. It's not she. It's not anything that indicates something other. Us, our. Those are collective. Those are like those like you're a part of the group. If I say us, we, our, that means I'm including you into it. We're all included. So the creator is all of us. We are all included in that. Anyways, God said, "Let there be light." Said you have to invoke it. In order to create, you have to invoke it. So you have to, speak it out. Things you want to manifest, speak them out. when just just hum for a second. Mm. I mean, you can feel the vibration in your body. So I mean, humming, yeah, it's more intense, but just mm, see where you feel that vibration. What part of your body do you feel that vibration in? Mm. I mean, you can feel it. I feel it like in my chest, more closer to my spine, but kind of in the middle. Mm. Do different frequencies, and you can do it higher and lower. That's why, like, is the word of creation because stimulates the base of the spine. Stimulates like the middle of the spine. Stimulates the pituitary gland. So is sending those vibrations from the base of the spine up to all the way up your spine to the pituitary gland, which is going to stimulate your kundalini energy, which is the most divine, creative, powerful energy available to you. So there's an extra gem right there for you. Rewind this back and listen to it again a couple times. Really hear what I said. But anyways, you have to invoke things in order to create them. So, like I said, when you're now that you with the humming, now that you kind of feel what part of your body is vibrating, now just talk. I think everybody's on mute, so just say a few words while you're listening to me. And see if you can feel where in your body that is vibrating. So your body is going to be the very first thing impacted on the words that you speak out. So your words that you use are have more of an effect on yourself than anybody else. Anybody else. They affect you far more than anybody else. Your words hold power. And this is showing you how much power they have. It starts out from the very beginning of the Bible. Anyways, all right. Let there be light, and there was light. So now we have started to now that the base structure is formed and the breath is across the face of the where we experience our ability to experience. Now there is the beginning of awareness. Now we are just starting to become aware of things. First there was darkness, void, formless. There was nothing. Now there is something. Verse Genesis chapter 1, verse 4 through 5. Next two verses. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, the first day. Okay. God saw that the light was good. First he spoke, and now he saw. First he created, and now he is observing what he has created. You know, first he created, which is the spark of awareness. Now he is observing what was created. And now, through that observation, he is aware of what he created. It was good. Or what? See, I keep doing that. This is hilarious to me. Okay. Wow. Now I'm more aware of how much more, programming is still around. More than I thought, which is good. I'm growing. I'm grateful for this experience. And God saw that the light was good. Okay. God was able to perceive what it was that was created. And God separated the light from the darkness. Okay. Now I've created something. I take a look at it. It's created more aware. Now that I have observed what I have created, I now can assess, okay, I am aware of this. Now, at the very beginning of awareness, now that I understand what I'm aware of, now that I understand being aware of it, now I can identify what is awareness and what is unawareness. I can identify the difference between the two. And now that I can identify it, I can give it a name. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Okay. So the light I am able to see and perceive, and the darkness, the night, I still have yet to become aware of. Things that I still have to identify, things that I still have to perceive. And there was evening and there was day. There was evening and there was morning the first day. Oh yeah, so sorry. Through that, understanding the duality and the difference between awareness and unawareness. So Awareness and, and unawareness. No matter what you're aware of, whatever, no matter what parts of all of this you're aware of, and what parts you're unaware of, it's still all the field of experience. At the very beginning, yeah, there's far more unawareness than there is awareness. But as that light grows, then there's more awareness than there is unawareness. But it's still two halves to one whole. I mean, yourself, there's parts that you're aware of, there's parts that you're unaware of. There's parts that light is shining upon, there's still, shadows, darkness. But it's still all yourself, all of it, 100%, every single piece of it, still you. So the duality of the whole, two sides of the coin, the heads or the tails. No matter which side you're looking at, you're still looking at the coin. So then, and then also at the very end, there was evening and there was morning, the first day, a full cycle, evening and morning, full cycle. Now, after all of this has happened, we've come full circle here. Now we're now we're getting somewhere. We've completed a cycle. Time, evolution of consciousness. We already talked about that. We're around, fully around, back to the same point, but at a higher level. I mean, like on the circle, you start here, go in this direction, come all the way back around to here. We're at the same point. But imagine this is like we're up above the circle looking down on it. And so if we come to the side of the circle right here, we will be able to see that it's actually spiral. You know what I mean? So we went in a full circle, came back around to this point. Now we're looking at it from the side. Looking at it from above, come all the way around, it looks like you're at the same spot. But if you're looking at it from down here, you can see we're at the same spot, but higher. We're more elevated. All right, next verse. Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 through 8. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters that were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament. And God called the firmament sky. And there was evening and there was morning, the second day. All of this is about the firmament, which is this right here. Now we have this separation. We have a whole, remember I said superconscious mind is whole up here, subconscious and conscious are whole down here. So it's not actually, there is no subconscious and conscious right now. It's just this is whole up here, this whole right down here. That's not there. So we have one hole down here and one hole up here because God said, let there be a firmament. The suffix ment means mind. Government, govern your mind. Entertainment, entertain your mind entertained. Uh, Ailment, any ailment is really an ail of your mind. All diseases originate, the original cause, the root of it begins within your mind. There's an ailment in your mind, your mental, and then it begins to express an emotional. You still don't take care of it, it will physicalize into a dis-ease. You can take some medicine, which will take away the physical. You can go to therapy, which might help you with the emotional and a little bit of the mental. But unless you actually do something, therapy can do this too. Unless you actually do something to root out the mental cause, then the ailment will remain. Yeah, ment. Another one. Enlightenment. Light is awareness, right? In light in the mind. Enlightenment, bringing awareness into the mind. So firmament, ment means mind. Firmament, being firm, bringing firmness to the mind. I mean, this is providing structure. It's making this structure more firm, more solid. The etymology of the word firmament means support. So it's providing support. So we can see how firmament provides support or structure to the mind. Now we are getting the structure of the mind. The whole first week, we just broke all of this down, structure of the mind. It's also being broken down in the creation story, the creation of all of this, of our whole entire existence and how we perceive it through the physical body, the soul, the astral, the spirit, through the conscious, subconscious, superconscious minds, the third dimension, the fourth dimension, fifth dimension. Like as much as you can perceive of what you can experience, everything is first being formed here, the structure, the foundation. I mean, if you want to build a building, you start with what? The structure, the foundation. But first, you build the foundation, and then from the foundation, you can build the structure. Then, after the structure is formed, then you can add the walls. Then you can add the piping. Then you can add the electric wires. You need the structure first. So, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters." Moved upon the face of the water. All of this was water, life experience. In the midst. So, in the middle, in the midst, middle. God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters." So, in the middle of all that can be experienced, within the middle of it, there is a firm support structure. And let it divide the waters from the waters. You have these upper waters and these lower waters. So, it's dividing experience here and experience here, meaning this is whole on its own and this is whole on its own. This is something of its own. This is something of its own. There's a divide that we're under the firmament from the water. Oh, and God made the firmament and divided the waters that were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament. And God called the firmament sky. So the sky represents superconscious mind because that is the access into the superconscious mind. And there was evening and there was morning, the second day. Ah, okay. So evolution of consciousness, time. After the first day, we've come full circle. We created a structure here. Now, as far as structure, because we're going over the structure of the mind, we completed one full cycle of structure. Now we're at the same point. We still have structure, but now it has evolved. The evolution of consciousness. It has evolved to a higher form. The second day. So now, verses 9 through 10. And God said, "Let the waters that are under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. So everything being spoken about here is under the sky, under the firmament, under the separation between superconscious and everything below it. And God said, now he's invoking. It's so hilarious to me. So now it is being invoked. The Most High Creator is invoking. Let the waters that are under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear. It was invoked, and it was so. Invocation, the environment responded, the universe responded. So the water, the experience, let the life experience underneath the superconscious mind be gathered together in one place. Okay, yeah, you can have dreams, you can go astral project, but the majority of your life experience is gathered together in one place. This conscious 3D physical reality. And God called the dry land earth, subconscious is earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas, conscious. And God saw that it was good. Sky, superconscious, land and earth, subconscious, the seas, the conscious. And now we have the structure of the mind. So, along with the conditions of your birth this week and kind of assessing that, And if feel free once you get that together and you're kind of contemplating it, feel free to send me an email at awakenwithin333 at gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email of that and ask for any insight that I see or anything. You can share what you kind of see so far and things. And if you want to get a objective perspective and additional perspective, um, to help you with your own perspective, yeah, feel free, send it to me and I'll help you out as much as I can whenever I can, for any amount of time that I'm able to. But in addition to that, this week I want everyone. I mean, it is vital between this week and next week, or if you're watching the recordings, it is vital that before you watch the next one and after watching this one, go and watch the movie Ad Astra. I'll write it out for you. Ad Astra. Main star is Brad Pitt. Yeah, I think it's two T's. Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. I mean, if you can't find it on any streaming service, I don't, maybe HBO has it, HBO Max, I think, maybe. I don't know. I meant to go look before this to kind of tell people, but at, at the bare minimum, it's on Amazon. You or somewhere like that. You can rent it for $3, $5, little to the value that you're going to get from it. But watch it, and as you're watching it, go ahead and see what you see. So I'll give you one. I'll give you one big thing here: outer space. Outer space in dreams represents the inner space. So see, watch the movie, see what all you can derive from it. But we will break it down in full next week. All right. So that is it. And I'll see you next week.